Hello everyone. In this lesson today, we're going to be talking about theme. Now, you've already had a quick review about what counts as main idea. Remember that the main idea is like a one-sentence summary of a text. It tells us about the characters, about the main event, perhaps about the conflict, okay? The theme is going to be much more general than the main idea. It's still going to be one sentence long. And theme is ultimately going to tell us what the story reveals about the real world. Okay, that's the important part here. As younger students, you probably were told it was the moral of the story, and it is in some ways, but it's also a little bit more complicated than that. The moral of a story is often when, like in a children's story, they're telling us to do something. Don't talk to strangers. Don't take the easy way out. Don't try to trick people. Things like that. Whereas the theme is more sophisticated. It's just going to tell us something about the real world. We will not mention specifics about the story. No specifics about the story. Don't tell me about a character. Don't mention the main conflict in the story. Instead, it's a statement about life. And that statement about life applies to our story, and it also can apply to the real world. So in order to understand this, we really need to look at some examples. So we've got quite a few here. We've got 4 of them that we're going to go through. We'll talk about the main idea, and then we'll talk about the theme and how to reach a theme statement. Our first one here reads, Austin goes to bat. Austin had been playing baseball his whole life. He started when he was in the 1st grade and loved every minute of it. Last year, Austin was up to bat when he was hit in the head with the baseball. He was hit so hard he had to go to the hospital because he suffered a concussion. This scared Austin, so he decided not to play again. The team was so disappointed. They begged him to come back after several weeks of After several weeks of convincing, Austin decided to give baseball another try. He was so nervous his first time up to bat that he was shaking. Despite his fear, he planted his feet and hit a home run. So the main idea here will tell us about this specific text. So we can mention our main character, Austin. Austin suffered a concussion and was nervous to play baseball again. That's telling us what this little story was about. Theme is not going to do that. So when I get to theme, first I think about that main idea so I don't get the two confused. Then I'm going to list for myself several topics that the story is about. So this story is about the topic of baseball. That would be one. Another topic that this is about is concussions. Those are pretty basic though. Let's start thinking about bigger things. It's about persevering. It's about fear. It's about the idea of success. They even mention like the word here, nervousness. They mentioned the words like scared. So we can say here nerves. So those are just topics, things that this story deals with. When I get down to theme, I'm going to pick one of those topics that I think is a really strong one for this story. So for this one, let's say it's the idea of fear. So now for my theme, I'm going to write out just one sentence, something that is true about this story and something that this story reveals to us about real life. Sometimes our fears hold us back more than what we are afraid of. Do I ever mention our character, Austin? No. Do I ever mention baseball? No. Do I mention his concussion? No. I'm talking generally. Is this true in the story, that sometimes our fears hold us back more than what we are afraid of? Yeah, that works for the story. Can that be true about the real world as well? Yes. So that's what makes a theme statement. Let's skip Jacob's Leg because it's kind of similar. Alice goes to camp. Alice goes to camp every summer. She loves seeing her friends that don't go to her school. This is the only time of year they get to see each other. They all go to a swim camp. They swim, work out, and play games for 3 weeks straight. Every summer, while at camp, Alice's parents send her several care packages. They usually include anything from cookies to a new tablet. Some of the other campers don't get anything during their time there. Most campers in Alice's bunk just roll their eyes when she brings in a new package because they want one too. Others now avoid Alice because they just can't stand her. So first, before anything else, I want to think about my main idea. That way I don't confuse it with theme. They're related but not the same, and we don't want to confuse them. So the main idea of this story is Alice struggles with making friends at camp because they are jealous of the things her parents send her. So that's a decent just kind of summary of what the story is about. And remember, the main idea is like a summary. Now, before coming up with our theme, I want to go over some topics that are perhaps present in the story. So obviously jealousy was a big one here, that other people are jealous. Maybe it comes down to money and having things. Maybe it's the idea of family connections or the idea of being loved. Definitely the idea of friendship. Let's take a look at some of the words that we're seeing here. They avoid Alice. She loves seeing her friends. So I'm thinking like with them avoiding Alice, maybe this is dealing with not just the same as jealousy, but when we talk about avoidance, it can maybe be because we don't like something or because something makes us uncomfortable. And then what did I underline up here? Oh, she loves seeing friends. So maybe we want to talk about the idea of time, because she only gets to see them during the summer. It's not all year long. So that idea of time and how could that impact relationships? So these are all the topics, all the different kinds of just ideas that come up during this little story. Now with theme, we're going to pick one of these that we think is really important. So I'm going to go through, I'm just going to highlight the ones that I think are really obvious here. Okay, so I think jealousy is a little too obvious. Let's go for something less obvious here. Maybe the idea of like family and connecting that with the idea of being loved. We can go with that. So when someone feels, oh, I've got it, ignored is what that comes down to. When someone feels ignored or unloved, they may take it out on others. Is that true about our story? Yes, because we see that these other characters in the story who aren't getting those care packages, they are taking it out on Alice. They're angry or upset with Alice because she is getting them. Is that true sometimes about real life? That when somebody feels ignored or unloved, they take it out on other people? Yeah, of course that's true. So let's take a look at our last example here. We're going to go through it one more time. The new kid in class. As Ruby walked into her classroom Monday morning, she noticed a new student sitting by the window. She was a new student last year and knew it could be kind of scary, so she went over to talk to him. He kept quiet and his head down as she asked where he was from. He didn't talk to anyone for 2 more weeks. Ruby made sure to smile at him every day, and finally, one day after school, the new kid smiled back and asked her name. They began to walk together to school, do homework after school, and hang out on the weekends. Ruby was so glad she could help a new student and gain a new friend. Okay, so this one, our main idea, which is the summary of the story, we could say that Ruby helps a new student adjust to school life. Good. Now, when we think about the topics, there are a lot of different hints in here about what some topics could be. So first of all, it could just be the idea of school. We see here, I think there's the word scared somewhere in here. Oh, scary. I'm so sorry that my dog is scratching. You can hear her collar scratching there. So we can say scared, or the idea of fear. Smiling or being friendly. The idea of helping someone could be a topic for this story. And then we could also say, for this bit, maybe the idea of being shy, okay? So of these topics now, we need to decide which ones were really important for this story. Let's stick with our kind of like our main character is helping somebody out, and that makes her feel good. So let's go with that idea. So now our theme, remember, we'll talk about, it will be true for the story and true for real life. It does not talk about the specific characters or the specific details of this story. So we might say here that helping someone can feel more satisfying than receiving help. So we notice here that in this story, Ruby's acknowledging that she was a new student last year and it was kind of scary. She seems to really get more satisfaction, though, out of helping this new student than she did about finally becoming a part of the new school. So that's true for our story. And can that be true in real life? Yeah, of course. So that's why it makes a good theme. I know that this was kind of a long lesson. It ultimately just comes down to practicing and looking for those themes. In your day-to-day life, start paying attention to songs that you really love or are hearing on the radio. Start paying attention to TV shows that you're watching, or shows on Netflix or Hulu or wherever. Start paying attention to what the main idea is, the specifics about the story, and then the overall idea that it's sharing about the real world. And if you have any questions, make sure to reach out and let us know.